is NBC Palm Springs.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Olivia Sandusky. Topping our news tonight, the deputy involved shooting in La Quinta has left one man dead. The people who live and work in the heart of La Quinta are still shocked. Today, we're learning more about this incident. Our Nico Payne has more on the story.
This was an isolated incident is what they've determined thus far, and the target or focus was not City Hall.
Sheriffs and police rushed to City Hall in La Quinta Thursday afternoon after they received a call reporting a man with a gun in the courtyard.
We did not hear any shootings. We didn't hear nothing. We just saw a bunch of cop cars rushing over here. Some cops going that way, some cops going towards City Hall.
When officers arrived on scene, the suspect aimed his weapon in their direction.
At that time, the deputy involved shooting occurred. The suspect was hit by the gunfire.
Life-saving efforts were performed, but the suspect later died at the hospital. And now we're learning what took place moments before the shooting and what one person did that probably saved lives.
We had one of our employees that was returning from lunch and had parked his car in the north parking lot, which is right along Calle Tampico, and proceeded to walk towards one of the entrances to City Hall and had heard a voice that was catching his attention. And when he turned around, he saw the gunman with what looked like a rifle in his hand.
That employee quickly noticed what was happening and calmly alerted staff.
He kind of stopped and looked at him, and then he continued his stride towards the entrance of City Hall and keyed himself in and quickly locked the door behind him and alerted the two officers that happened to be at the substation right there at City Hall, and then immediately activated through employee communications a preparation for the active shooter protocols.
For NBC Palm Springs, Nico Payne.
The search is over for a wanted man accused of kidnapping his ex-girlfriend. Law enforcement arrested Manuel Villedes near Coachella last night on suspicion of kidnapping and terroristic threats. Villedes is being held without bail. A memorial was held today for Forest Service firefighter Charles Edward Morton, who died while battling the El Dorado fire. Morton's family was flanked by saluting first responders as they arrived for the memorial. Tony Shin has more.
Fellow heroes preparing to say goodbye to Charles Edward Morton, or Charlie as he was best known. Walking with family members, fiancée Monica Tapia carries Charlie's urn into Rock Church in San Bernardino. Charlie, a 39-year-old crew boss for the elite firefighting team Big Bear Hotshots, tragically died last week while fighting the El Dorado fire.
Charlie was a real human being. He was up front, and he had a very big heart.
Charlie had been a firefighter for 18 years, spending most of his honorable career with the U.S. Forest Service.
At the Forest Service, we are dedicated to caring for the land and serving people. And Charlie showed us what service truly means.
During a heartfelt speech, Charlie's fiancée talked about the first time they communicated via cell phone after a mutual friend connected them.
And my phone goes off and it's a number I don't recognize. I open it up and it says, "Hello, I heard you were the woman of my dreams."
Monica also talked about their everlasting love for each other and Charlie's love for the men and women who risked their lives fighting on the fire lines.
No mountain, no accident, no wildfire can take away the love that Charlie gave me. He loved being a hotshot firefighter. He loved being out in the wilderness. He loved his mountain.
Big Bear 1 Charlie, San Bernardino. This is a last call for fallen firefighter Charles.
The funeral for firefighter Morton comes as we learn about a missing firefighter in Big Bear. Carlos Alexander Baltazar was reported missing yesterday. California Highway Patrol found his vehicle on Highway 18 and Delta Avenue. Baltazar is a part of the U.S. Forest Service interagency hotshot crew. He was off duty at the time and not in the area of the El Dorado fire. Earlier today, an accident on the 10 caused some delays on both west and eastbounds between Jefferson and Washington Street. Now, the crash occurred around 6 o'clock. California's Highway Patrol reported this accident with some major injuries. Crews shut all lanes on the Interstate 10 East for debris cleanup and creating delays for commuters throughout that area. Governor Gavin Newsom announced this week internal combustion engines will be phased out in California by the year 2035. The goal is to shift U.S. automakers their focus to zero-emission vehicles. Today we spoke to California's Secretary of Environmental Protection to see what this could mean for our state.
And what we realize, Olivia, is that a lot of our emissions that lead to greenhouse gases in the atmosphere in California come from transportation. That's trucks, that's the more than 30 million passenger vehicles. So setting this goal is really pushing manufacturers to say by 2035, you need to just be selling zero emission vehicles. Like, it doesn't mean that everyone who has their car will be able to keep their car, but to the manufacturers, they need to be in a place where they're really joining with everyone else to solve this problem.
California would be the first state with such a mandate, while at least 15 other countries have already made similar commitments, including Germany, France, and Norway. Here's a live look now at our Agua Caliente casino cam. A pretty nice Friday night out there. We'll send it over to Taylor Martinez with a look at your AccuWeather forecast.
Taking an overview look at our Friday, definitely a hot first day of fall. Usually we're seeing temperatures of around 97 degrees at this time. Today we saw a high of 104, but check out that record, 114 back in 1947. Looking forward to tomorrow. We're seeing 74 at 6 a.m., working our way up to 100 degrees at 2 p.m. Usually we're seeing those triple digits at noon, so a little bit of relief there. We're seeing 103 at 4 p.m., coming down to 93 around 8 p.m. Looking at our next 3 days now, brought to you by Comfort Air. 103 tomorrow with a low of 73, 104 Sunday with a low of 76, heating up a little more Monday to 104 with a low of 76, but it's only getting hotter as we advance into our week. I'll talk about that in my full forecast.
All right, thank you, Taylor. On to our You Ask, We Investigate. Castelli's, the Italian restaurant in Palm Desert, has been a favorite for locals and celebrities over the past years. But the owner of the restaurant says the city has not kept their promises to fix the alley behind his business. Our Kitty Alvarado investigates.
Michael Castelli takes great pride in his restaurant that bears his last name. It's been a Palm Desert institution for over 3 decades.
Kurt Russell, Sam Elliott. Over here we have Joe Pesci.
Locals and celebrities love it.
Everybody, it's anybody that comes in this desert comes to this restaurant.
Over the years, he's worked hard to transform the restaurant into something the city can be proud of.
In 1993, the city gave me a permit to go further out on the dirt and do my kitchen.
He says each time he's made improvements,
this is my dining room.
The city makes him go above and beyond, like in 2003.
Before I could get the permit, I had to buy a lot across the alleyway for parking, which I did.
The reason the city gave,
because we are going to beautify and put a road back here. Entrances will be in the back on this nice roadway which connects through the city.
He's kept his end of the bargain, but he's still waiting on the city.
It's been 33 years. I've had broken promises, false hopes. Every time I added on to my building, the city told me to architecturally make it beautiful because you were going to beautify the alley. That was in 1988.
He says it's not just a dusty eyesore. The tight space makes it dangerous.
I'm begging the city to address this.
Finally, during this week's city council meeting, his voice was heard.
Yes, Mr. Castelli.
Okay, great. I just want to say thank you to the mayor for getting this on the agenda today.
And he hopes that after 33 years of him doing right by the city and the countless people who love his restaurant, the city does right by him.
I feel there's a glimmer of hope. Of all the broken promises, I see a little light that the city is going to do something this time.
In Palm Desert, Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
Now on to another You Ask, We Investigate. A viewer reached out to us wanting to know why the Starbucks in front of Albertsons and Monterey is closed. The viewer says a sign on the door reads closed due to unforeseen circumstances, with no specifics really on what that means. We found out from Starbucks that the store is temporarily closed and scheduled to reopen on October 1st. The company says it's continuing to serve the Rancho Mirage community at its Highway 111 and Magnesia Falls location. Now remember, if you have a story idea you'd like us to look into, please email us over at news@NBCPalmSprings.com. We'll check it out. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs officials broke ground today on a memorial honoring Native Americans and others buried at Riverside National Cemetery. Secretary Robert Wilkie said, quote, "Today is California Native American Day, and there is no better way to honor Native American Indian veterans than with this groundbreaking ceremony." The ceremony edition will consist of a bronze statue symbolizing the American Indian in service to the nation and will feature a plaza and walkway. Along with Native Americans on the continental U.S., the memorial is intended as a salute to Alaskan tribes as well as Pacific Islanders. Some great news for La Quinta. The long vacant Ralph's building has a new tenant. Grocery Outlet will take over half of the 41,000 square foot building in the La Quinta Village Shopping Center at Washington and Calle Tampico. Grocery Outlet is scheduled to open next fall. The chain offers discounted and overstocked products from name brand and private label suppliers. Mayor Linda Evans said an announcement of a tenant for the other half of that building should soon follow, though she doesn't know what business is leasing that side. City officials also say a new Starbucks with a drive-through is under construction. The Living Desert Zoo and Gardens is getting ready to get back to more normal hours of operation. Beginning Thursday, October 1st, the Living Desert will open at 8 in the morning for both members and non-members, with full zoo amenities opening at 9 o'clock. The zoo will remain open until 5 p.m. with last admission at 4. Also, the Living Desert's 3 nature preserve hiking trails will also reopen. That's 8 a.m. on October 1st. A couple of big events built around the Salton Sea are all happening tomorrow. There's a drive-in screening of a documentary called Miracle in the Desert, The Rise and Fall of the Salton Sea. It'll be playing at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. Also Saturday, a group of Valley teenagers will kayak across the Salton Sea beginning at 7 in the morning. They're trying to draw attention to what the Salton Sea could be once again, a place for recreation, kayaking, swimming, and maybe even some fishing. Coming up next, President Trump selects a nominee for the Supreme Court. More on his decision after the break. And if you're feeling a little loneliness during the lockdown, experts suggest getting a pet. We'll tell you all about the benefits of those furry friends coming up next.
coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
Time to take a look at COVID-19 numbers for Riverside County and the entire Coachella Valley. 295 new cases were reported in the county, 52 of those here in our valley. There were 10 new deaths in the county, one of those in our valley. A new study shows that people of color are more likely to contract coronavirus. The study of nearly 6,000 patients shows Black and Hispanics were more likely to test positive versus white patients. They were also more likely to have multiple underlying conditions, but there is some encouraging news. Researchers say the survival rates of minority patients was just as good as white patients when those underlying illnesses were accounted for. There may be no better cure for the lockdown loneliness than getting a pet. Researchers in the UK surveyed 6,000 people during the spring and early summer. 90% of those with a pet say their animal helped them cope emotionally with the lockdown. 96% said their pet kept them fit and active, and that emotional bond was not limited to cats and dogs. People with fish, guinea pigs, or any pet at all really felt happier. The study did find that nearly 70% of pet owners, although worried about their animals during lockdown. Earlier this evening, flags in D.C. were lowered to half-staff by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to honor the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The flags at the White House also lowered to half-mast. Justice Ginsburg made history today by being the first woman and first Jewish person to lie in the state's Capitol. And in the wake of her death, NBC News has learned who the president has settled on to replace her. It's federal judge Amy Coney Barrett. But neither the president nor Judge Barrett would publicly confirm that news tonight. President Trump is expected to name Barrett at tomorrow's event, to which Senate Republicans have been invited. Other attendees are expected to include the nominee's family as well as cabinet members. Some House Democrats plan to introduce a bill to set an 18-year term limit for Supreme Court justices, which would end lifetime appointments. The proposal comes as Senate Republicans try to bring in a successor to Ginsburg and preserve a conservative majority for a generation. This is apparently the first time term limits for Supreme Court justices have been proposed as legislation rather than a constitutional amendment. No legislation has a chance of passage, though, in this Republican-led Senate. We have plenty of news still ahead, plus Taylor will have a look at your forecast when we return. Stay with us. Let's take a live look now from our Walter Clark Highway 111 cam as we begin to welcome in the first official weekend of fall and hopefully, some cooler months ahead. We'll send it over to Taylor Martinez with a look at your full forecast.
Taylor Martinez in for Mike Everett today. You can catch him on Sunday after our post-game show. But let's get right to the numbers. Usually this time we're seeing temperatures of around 97 degrees. Today we saw a high of 104, so definitely a hot and dry start to our fall. And the winds are not really helping with that. We're not getting much of a breeze, only those normal little gusts that we would typically see during this time. Across our radar right now, I'm not tracking much, definitely just sticking with the hot and dry conditions this weekend, and that's a trend throughout much of Southern California. And for much of the Southwest, dry and warm conditions everywhere. You can see lots of red here. Definitely going to be a hot weekend for everyone. Looking forward to tomorrow, 74 at 6 a.m., working our way up to 100 degrees at 2 p.m. Usually we see those triple-digit heats around noon, so a little bit of relief there, right? We're coming down to 93 degrees at 8 a.m. Highs across the Coachella Valley tomorrow. We're seeing 103 in Thousand Palms, Indio, and Palm Springs, 104 in Palm Desert, 97 out in Cabazon, 76 up in Big Bear. Nice day to get to the lake there. 95 in Joshua Tree. Looking forward to Sunday, 95 sticking with in Joshua Tree, 104 in Thousand Palms, Indio, Palm Desert, and Palm Springs, 76 out in Big Bear, 95 in Banning. Now taking a look at our next 7 days, brought to you by Comfort Air. As I've been saying, 103 tomorrow, low of 73. Sunday and Monday, we're seeing 104. Tuesday, 105. Wednesday, 107. Really heating up into next weekend with 109 both Thursday and Friday, with those lows staying in the mid to high 70s all week.
In consumer news, Mars Food is changing the name of Uncle Ben's Rice to Ben's Original. The company has decided to drop the logo due to growing concerns of racial stereotyping. Since the 40s, the rice boxes featured a white-haired black man, sometimes wearing a bow tie. Mars says the new Ben's Original packaging will hit store shelves in 2021. Other brands, including Aunt Jemima and Eskimo Pie, are among those retiring logos this year, many consider to be racially insensitive. With the fall season officially here, Kraft gets a little spicy with a new flavor for its mac and cheese. They're kicking their staple dish up a notch, adding hints of cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, and ginger to create pumpkin spice mac and cheese. Not sure how I feel about that one. You can win a box with all the details on Kraft's macaroni and cheese Twitter feed. The entry period for that ends September 29th, so only a few days left to get on that. Amazon plans to kick off this year's Prime Day on October 13th. The company has told warehouse workers they won't be able to take vacations between the 13th and the 20th. Amazon confirmed in July it would be postponing Prime Day. The annual event is designed to entice new Prime subscribers, promote Amazon's products and services, and provide a sales boost right in the middle of the year. Bed Bath & Beyond will close 63 stores by the end of the year. None of the stores here in the Coachella Valley will be affected, though. The move is part of restructuring due to COVID-19. The company had previously said in July it would be closing about 200 stores over the next 2 years. Last month, it announced 2,800 jobs would be eliminated to try to tighten up finances. Ring, the company most known for their video doorbells, has introduced a flying camera. The drone is $250 and it can automatically fly on preset paths to specific spots in your home, streaming to your smartphone all along the way. The drone can also fly to something on its own if it detects motion. It's set to be released next year, but privacy experts are already raising the alarm due to Amazon and Ring's partnership with police departments. Brandy Flores has all of your sports highlights coming up next. Stay with us. You don't want to miss it.
NBC Palm Springs Sports Desk, brought to you by Agua Caliente Casinos. We have your game. It's time. Let's push play.
Good evening and welcome back. I'm Brandy Flores. Let's get right into some sports highlights. The Padres and the Giants had a doubleheader today. The Giants beat the Padres in the first game 5-4. The second game, it came all the way down to the final inning. The Padres were down 5-3, and with only 1 out and 2 runners on, Trent Grisham stepped up and finished in walk-off fashion for the Padres with a 3-run home run. Padres win 6-5 in San Francisco. The Freeway Series between the Angels and the Dodgers began today. Clayton Kershaw was on the mound tonight, but that did not seem to faze the Angels or Mike Trout. I mean, what really phases Mike Trout? Nothing, right? As he earned his first career home run against Kershaw, must be that new dad strength. It was not until the 5th inning that the Dodgers really got the bats going and added enough runs to earn them the lead. And by the 8th inning, the Dodgers secured the win over the Angels 9-5. This would mean that the Angels' playoff hopes were definitely over. Their season has come to an end, which is a bummer for another reason, since now the Astros have clinched a spot in the postseason. Definitely sucks. The Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and Miami started out very strong in this game, but it seems as if the 2-game delays messed with their mojo a bit, because the Celtics came back in the third quarter to take the lead, and so Boston refuses to leave the bubble just yet. The final score would be 121-108, and Miami is only leading the series 3-2 now. Game 6 is going to happen this Sunday at 4:30. Tomorrow, the Lakers are set to take on the Denver Nuggets in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals, and it would be ideal for the Lakers to win, well, of course, but especially now since the Eastern Conference Finals got pushed to another game. The Lakers are coming off a solid victory on Thursday, thanks to the leadership from LeBron and Anthony Davis, and so they are expected to continue their dominance over Denver. Although the Nuggets have the Lakers right where they want them, ahead in the series 3-1. And according to history, there's a decent chance they can repeat yet another series comeback. And with news coming in earlier today that now Anthony Davis is questionable to play tomorrow as he is suffering a sprain on his left ankle. And if he doesn't play tomorrow, things are looking pretty favorable for the Nuggets. But I guess for now, we'll have to wait and see. That's it for sports. We'll be right back.
Robinson's third three-pointer of the half.
All right, I know it's still only September, but it's never too early to start thinking about those holidays. And Nestle Toll House seems to think the same thing. They're bringing back 3 limited edition fan favorites just in time for the holidays. I'm pretty excited about this. Holiday chocolate chip cookie dough. It has red and green Christmas tree sprinkles. They also have peppermint-filled baking truffles, if you like the minty flavors. That features a chocolate shell and a minty creamy, delicious center. M&M's Minis holiday cookie dough is another option. Now the truffles, the refrigerated doughs, those are all available at select retailers beginning next month. So I think October is officially time to start celebrating the holidays. Pop those in the oven and enjoy a little bit of Christmas magic. Thanks for joining us tonight for your Friday night. We'll see you Saturday for all of our shows. We have a later show again. Remember, that'll start around 8 o'clock. See you then.